Tonight, we talk about some frog-like goblins in Hopkinsville, Kentucky, and then we head on up to Loveland, Ohio to talk about some goblin-like frogmen. All that and more on Small Town Secrets.
Loveland, Ohio, Point Pleasant, West Virginia, Van Meter, Iowa, Elkhorn, Wisconsin, Kingsburg, Pennsylvania, Gulf Breeze, Florida, Estes Park, Colorado, Hopkinsville, Kentucky, Amityville, New York. Every town has a secret. What is yours?
Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to the show. We are on episode 6 of season 1, and I have to say, this is a crackerjack episode. This is probably the most exciting and fun one I think I've done to date. First off, we have two really fun, interesting stories that I've wanted to talk about for a long time. One of the towns is kind of near and dear to me. It was the first town where I really was like, oh, there's a cryptid and it's in Ohio, you know? And now I have a whole map of weird, funky stuff in Ohio. But back in the day, the story of the Loveland Frog really got me going. So tonight we're going to talk about the Loveland Frog and the Hopkinsville Goblins. Then after that, we're going to have the local headlines like we always do, and one listener story, but it's going to be a big one. We'll get to that, I think, more when we get there. So strap in, folks, for a very fun episode. Before we get started, I want once again to thank everybody. The last couple of episodes, the growth of the show has been just outrageous, more than I really ever thought would happen this early on into the show, both in listenership, both in, social media engagement, and I can't thank everyone enough for listening and supporting the show. But yeah, I'm not gonna draw it out with a long intro today, but we're just gonna get into it. First off, however, we have a podcast to let you know about. It's a great little show called Haunted Happenstance. It is a serialized audio drama about strange and ghostly happenings in a Boston apartment complex. So take a listen and check it out.
Hey there, I'm Jennifer, and I host Haunted Happenstance, a creepy and quirky little audio drama set in a historic residence in Boston, Massachusetts. You see, I've always loved a good ghost story, and as it turns out, ghosts have always loved me too. Convenient? Maybe. Coincidence? Perhaps. But I think it's a bit more than that. Let's see if you agree. So sit back and get ready to join me, and my neighbors, for some truly spooky tales that can only be explained as Haunted Happenstance. You can find us on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever else you find your podcasts.
It's a pretty good show. I've actually subscribed to it and have been binge listening through it for the last couple of days. But on to our first segment, which is going to be the Hopkinsville Goblins of, Hopkinsville, Kentucky. If you're wondering what the theme for this episode is, it's it is the prevailing theory that I kind of believe about this area and about these goblin creatures and these frogmen from Loveland and some of the surrounding areas. being one in the same. I am of the mind that the Hopkinsville Goblins and the Loveland Frog Men and the strange creatures that have been seen in the Ohio River and the Tommy knockers, the goblins, the things in Kentucky that run around the caves or might be aliens, all these stories that you hear, that they're all the same cryptid. They're all the same creature. We'll get into that more as we go into these, because there is some really great, I don't want to say evidence, but I guess evidence of these things being the same type of creature. Just the way they look and the area and just everything is very similar. But let's start with the famous Hopkinsville, Kentucky case. The Hopkinsville Gobblin Encounter, the Kelly-Hopkinsville Encounter, or the Kelly Green Man case. Whatever name you give it, they all refer to the same thing. The night when a family was terrorized by small humanoid beings with green skin, large yellow eyes, and gigantic ears. On the evening of August 21st, 1955, a handful of people were staying on a farmhouse in Hopkinsville, Kentucky. They were Glennie Langford and her children, Lonnie, Charlton, and Mary, Glennie's two sons from a previous marriage, Elmer and John Sutton, Elmer and John's wives, Vera and Elaine, or maybe Elaine, I'm going to say Elaine though, Elaine's brother, O.P. Barker, and that's O and P, not like O.P. It's two letters, not like O.P. in the name. As well as Billy Ray Taylor and his wife, June. Many of the witnesses that were at the farmhouse would burst into Hopkinsville's police station later that night to report their strange incident. They claimed that a UFO landed near the farmhouse in what may have been a dozen or more little green men. And if you're wondering, yes, this case is credited for the creation of the term little green men. This is where it came from and kind of stuck for a little while. But the little green men swarmed and surrounded the house. These creatures were short and monkey-like. They had large yellow eyes and huge cat-shaped ears. They also had webbed hands. So webbed hands, I'm going to assume webbed feet, you know, like a frogman. Evansville press artist Larry Hill composed a sketch that would later appear in the paper alongside the reports of the sightings. And if you head over to stscast.com and click episodes and check out the show notes, I have a picture of that police sketch, as well as another sketch that I always thought was the police sketch. If you're familiar with the case, you've probably seen the latter one. It shows a profile of the creatures and then a full-on, like a frontal view of the creatures with some notations on the side. That's not the police sketch, apparently. The police sketch is very different. I found it. It's on there. Both of them. Both interesting sketches to take a look at. Elmer John and Billy Ray Taylor claim they shot at the creatures with pistols and shotguns. The men were trying to keep the things at bay as they were trying to enter the house. The little men would repeatedly peer into the windows of the home and scurry across the roof, scaring everyone inside. Eventually, the men were able to fight off the goblins, gather everyone up, and leave the property. After they left the farmhouse, they headed straight for the police station. The police would later do an investigation, but found no real evidence of the creatures or their craft. They did find evidence of shots being fired from inside the home. One of the officers did state that there were meteor showers that night. No one else had reported a UFO. The story would attract a lot of media attention. After the story ended up in the papers, similar sightings would be reported throughout Kentucky and up into southern Ohio. So much attention that others came out to tell similar experiences. Some boys in Evansville claimed to have seen 10 similar creatures on an athletic field of Lincoln High School. The teens threw rocks at the things until they fled into the forest. And here's an interesting side note. If you listen to the last episode, I did a story about, it was in local headlines, it was about there had been like a murder every 13 days in Evansville, Indiana for the last 2 months or whatever it was. And I'm pretty sure that's the same Evansville, because I looked up Lincoln High School and saw that there was a Lincoln High School, in Evansville, Indiana. So I think it's the same place. It's just kind of funny how they popped up in both episodes and they're completely unrelated things. But yeah, there's other accounts. While swimming in the Ohio River, Darwin Johnson was attacked by a creature resembling the creature from the Black Lagoon. Reports of goblins, Tommyknockers, and frogmen would continue in Kentucky and southern Ohio and Indiana to this day. Of course, there are many explanations given by believers and skeptics alike, which include an elaborate hoax or perhaps just drunkenness that got out of hand, which may be the case. I mean, I guess you could get drunk and start shooting inside the house, but I don't know. Would you get so drunk that you would hallucinate tiny goblin people? Or maybe that's the story you made up to not let people know that you just got drunk and shot up the house. The witnesses could have seen an eagle or a great horned owl. That combined with meteors that night may have accounted for what they saw. Or perhaps it was aliens from a landed UFO, which is what they claimed. If so, why did they attack the house? Were they trying to get help from the family, but were not able to communicate? I mean, think about it. Let's say the UFO, the craft that these guys are in, these creatures, it malfunctions. Maybe it didn't land. Maybe it crash landed. Maybe it, for some reason they needed help, and maybe there was this weird language barrier, obviously, and they couldn't communicate. And of course, the family's freaking out, and hijinks ensue, right? Could it be, though, that they were not aliens at all, but some sort of cryptid creatures that dwell in the massive Mammoth Cave system? Mammoth Cave is the largest series of caves in the entire world, currently sitting at 450 miles of explored caves. So let that sink in for a little bit. Mammoth Cave, the Mammoth Cave system, just isn't it's the largest cave system in the world, not the country, not the state of Kentucky, but in the world. And it's pretty much underneath Kentucky, and not all of it's been explored. So it could creep its way up into southern Ohio or southern Indiana. We don't know yet. But the idea behind this is that, like I was saying at the beginning of the show, is that these cryptid creatures, these goblins, these Tommyknockers, are all over the place down there, because you get claims like the ones I mentioned earlier about the Ohio River and the Evansville sightings. All were around the same time, but you get reports of goblins and weird goblin-like creatures and frogmen in Kentucky all the time. If anyone has watched the amazing Hellier documentary, and if you haven't, you should. And if you haven't and you want to, and you don't know where to find it, you can just find on YouTube Hellier, Hellier. But I'll link to it in the show notes so you can go check it out. It's 5 parts. It's really well shot. It's really well done. Everything about it is amazing. But what they kind of posit is this theory that these things may not be aliens per se, or maybe they were aliens that got stuck here and now they live in these caves. Or maybe they're just cryptids that, they call these caves home. Because they do, in the Hellier documentary, they do touch on Hopkinsville a little bit, and they find a very interesting connection between the two. But I'll save that for when you guys go and view the documentary. If you haven't seen it, you got to watch it. It's really going to be required watching, I think, for this type of stuff on out. That's what the Hopkinsville Encounter really was. I think it was the catalyst. I think it really started off a lot of these stories, a lot of these sightings of, goblins attacking people, peeking into your windows, or aliens. Back in 1955, yeah, they were going to say it was aliens because everything was aliens in 1955. That was the hot stuff. And, it's I don't want to say groundbreaking, but it is a case that really got the ball rolling and is still remembered to this day. But I think that, when people start talking about frogmen, which we're going to talk about here in a little bit, it really is, I think they're the same things. They've got webbed feet. If you look at drawings of these things, if you think about what they look like, they're very similar. Very similar indeed. But let's move on a little further north to Loveland, Ohio. In the same year as the Hopkinsville incident, some 300 miles northeast in Loveland, Ohio, other strange creatures would be seen. This would be the first sighting of the Loveland Frog Men. There would be more, and people still see the frogmen to this day. A traveling salesman would be the first to spot the frogs. The anonymous salesman was traveling down a road that ran along the Little Miami River in Loveland at 3:30 in the morning. He witnessed three strange creatures about a meter or so tall, hunched over with leathery skin and frog-like heads. He pulled to the side of the road and watched the three creatures for about 3 minutes. As the salesman was about to drive away, he noticed one of the creatures raise what he described as a wand above its head. After seeing this, the man promptly fled the scene. It would be some years before the frogmen would be seen again, but they would be seen again. A police officer, who chose to remain anonymous, was driving up Riverside Road Drive around 1 a.m. on March 2nd, 1972. The officer was driving slowly due to ice on the roads when he noticed something alongside the road. At first he thought it was a dog. As he approached it, the thing sprang up and darted out in front of his car. The cop slammed on his brakes and saw a large frog creature prone in the road. It stood up, locked eyes with the officer before bolting over a guardrail and down into the Ohio River. The officer reported the sighting, saying he saw a creature 4 to 5 foot tall and about 75 pounds. It resembled a frog or a lizard. Another officer investigated the scene, said he found no evidence of the creature, but did find what appeared to be claw marks or scratches on the guardrail. And I'm really disappointed that, I guess it was an investigation, or maybe you just drove out there, but you don't have pictures of these claw marks and these scratches on the guardrail. Seems like a missed opportunity to me. A few weeks later, another police officer by the name of Mark Matthews would have a very similar sighting. He came along what he first thought was an injured animal on the side of the road. Officer Matthew approached the animal so he could clear it off the icy road. It was no dead or wounded animal, however. It was a frogman. The thing leapt at him in a crouched position. Matthews drew his service pistol and shot at the thing. His description of the creature would match the other officer's description almost to a T, except Mark said the thing had a tail. Years later, Mark Matthews would retract his story somewhat. He would later claim that it was no large bipedal frog creature, but just a large lizard that he assumed had escaped from a home. Mark also went on to say he reported the incident as being a frogman to help back up his fellow officer's earlier report. He thought if he could lend some credibility to the other officer's account, it would help the officer out, because he was being met with a lot of skepticism and being made fun of about his account. That would be all until Pokemon Go came out, and I almost want to do an episode on just all of the strange stuff that people have discovered while playing Pokemon Go. I might do that. Yeah, we'll think about that. In August of 2016, Sam Jacobs and his girlfriend were playing the game around Cincinnati when they spotted a large frog creature with glowing eyes coming out of the water. This sighting is unique, not only because it's modern, but also because it has evidence. The couple took a video and a photo of the creature. The video is dark and shows nothing but the glowing eyes. The photo is more revealing since it used a flash. In the pic, you can not only see the eyes, but the thing's upper torso coming out of the water. And I will, of course, link to this picture in the show notes, and I will also link to the YouTube video of the video that they took. And the video is not really good. Really, it is just black, and you see two pinpoints of light, the eyes, and they kind of bounce up and down and move around a little bit. You don't see anything. The picture's way better because, there's detail there. You can see the water, you can see the eyes, you can see the upper torso, you can see some arms. And it looks authentic to me. It might be photoshopped, who knows, but you can tell because it's grainy. It's not like, it's okay, but it's not the best picture, which is what a camera phone's going to look like when you take a picture in almost pitch blackness with a flash, especially if the thing is out in the water. Who knows how far it would be. But this sighting is written off by many as a hoax simply because it happened in Cincinnati. And I think that reasoning is pretty flimsy myself. If you look back at what we just talked about, most of the sightings of the Loveland Frog have not happened in Loveland, but slightly further south at the Ohio River. I mean, really, the only sighting, and I'm not even sure. One of these days I'm going to drive down to Loveland. I know it a little bit. I've been down there a lot. There's a great oddity shop down there I like to go to. I almost moved there once, but that fell through. That didn't happen. But I want to find this road that this anonymous salesman was on. I think that's the only one that's really in town, because Loveland's not, like, Loveland doesn't border the Ohio River. It's not super far away from it, but it's like, I don't know, I'd have to get on there and look, but you probably got to drive maybe 10-15 minutes to get to the Ohio River. Maybe more than that, maybe more like 20. So it's not close to the Ohio River, and there's other towns there. So, but the other two, both of the officers' encounters both took place at the Ohio River. You know, and those two sightings are so similar. And I guess you could go either way on that. You could say that Mark Matthews' sighting is so similar to the other officer sighting because he was trying to lend credibility. Maybe he wasn't the most imaginative person in the world, so he just copied the guy's encounter as close as he could. Said, "Hey, I saw the same thing," because he's got a thing where I thought it was a dog on the side of the road. Other guy thought it was a dog on the side of the road. It lunges at him from, a crouched position for both officers. The only difference is Matthews shoots at the thing, and the other guy, I guess, doesn't really say what he did. He probably just drove away. But the Loveland Frog lives on to this day, and, well, like I said, I think the Loveland Frog, I think the goblins are one and the same. Like, yeah, the frogman looks like a frogman, but I think so do the goblins, if you kind of think about it. They have these big eyes, frog-like eyes. They don't really have a nose. In all the pictures I've seen and descriptions of it, I don't really see a nose, maybe some nostril holes. And they have those, big ears in the dark, along with, if these things had glowing eyes like the Pokemon sighting, you might not even notice the ear. Now I'm going to speculate a little bit. Here's my working, it's not a theory. A theory is a worked out thing that you can prove. Here's my thoughts on what these things are. I don't think they're aliens. They don't seem to have that intelligence to them. They don't, I think that they are cryptids. I think they are these creatures that dwell in the Mammoth Cave system. The Mammoth Cave system probably goes on in more places than we know. Who knows how far it reaches? And these things are in it. And for some reason, every once in a while, they come out. Maybe back in the Hopkinsville case, the meteor shower scared them out of their cave, and they got, discombobulated. It's a fun word. I don't know if it's the right word. They got confused, and that's why they ran up on the house. And I think the Loveland Frog Men are the same thing. I think they're cave dwelling. They might also be amphibious. You got salamanders, you have stuff like that are amphibious, that live in caves. It's not a far-fetched idea at all. And that's what people are seeing. And those have always been two cases that I've always been on my radar. I've always wanted to do. Once again, this is another one of those. Yeah, you've heard about Hopkinsville. You've probably heard about Loveland. But it's just, I had to do this episode because they're two stories that are close to my heart. And that about wraps it up for our two main segments. I'm going to take a little musical break. I'm actually going to play the music I played on the first episode. Just because I'm running out of music, I have to make more. And I like it. So, yeah, let's do that again. And we'll be back with some local headlines. And we have returned with the local headlines. The first two are both from Coast to Coast, and I think they're both written by Tim Banal. This is the first headline we have here, and it says, Tennessee man suspects that he has solved the Forest Fen treasure mystery. A Tennessee man believes that he has solved the mystery of the elusive Fen treasure and plans to journey out to the American Southwest soon to see if his suspicions are correct. According to an illuminating local media profile, Chris Dotson became interested in the story of the eccentric author Forrest Fenn and his alleged hidden cache of riches about 5 years ago. This past November, after suffering a heart attack and being stuck at home recovering, he decided to plunge headlong into the hunt and seriously pursue finding the treasure. While Dotson is undoubtedly one of the many individuals who think they are onto the right track when it comes to locating the riches, his willingness to go on record about the status of his hunt is commendable, since many other treasure hunters keep their provincial cards close to their vest. To that end, he is understandably unwilling to share precisely where he thinks Fenn hid the treasure, but did provide insight into the unique process which led him to believe that he has narrowed down the spot to within a quarter of a mile. Dotson explains that beyond merely scouring Fenn's 2010 book, The Thrill of the Chase, which launched the treasure hunt with a series of clues, he has also devoted a significant amount of time to studying the author himself. I've listened to him, he noted. That's why I think I'm so close. By that, Dotson means that he has studied numerous interviews with Fenn about the treasure and, in his mind, spotted possible clues surreptitiously revealed by the man behind the epic hunt. Dotson also says that he has kept track of the considerable community of treasure hunters searching for Fenn's riches and made an effort to learn from their mistakes. Whether Dotson is correct in his assessment will soon be put to the test, as he plans to conduct an on-the-ground expedition in search of the treasure, sometime this summer. Remarkably, he had originally planned to go in April and emailed Fenn to warn him that he was close to finding the elusive prize. This resulted in a intriguing response from the author, who is not prone to answering messages from treasure hunters, telling Dotson to wait until summer. In turn, he interpreted this bit of advice to be an indication that the riches were likely only accessible in the warmer months when snow would not be a factor. Although he expressed confidence that his first attempt at finding the treasure will prove successful, Dotson says that he'll continue searching if it fails to yield any riches. And I hope he finds it, and I'll update anyone if I find out if he finds it or doesn't find it. The next story is also, like I said, from Coast to Coast, also written by Tim Banal, and it is First UK Crop Circle of 2019 found. The 2019 crop circle season is officially underway in England as the first formation of the year has been found. The design was reportedly discovered in the town of Warminster on Wednesday. The appearance of the formation may have elicited sighs of relief from UK crop circle research community who have not had to wait this long for the season to begin since 2013, when it took until June for the first design to be discovered, suggesting that perhaps the crop circle makers are working off a bit of rust accumulated over the winter months. This first formation of the year is a fairly basic design. It consists of a circle surrounded by a thick ring and then a thinner ring which features a pair of larger spheres opposite of each other. Suggestions as to what the formation may be meant to convey include a rudimentary electrical generator or possibly some kind of celestial alignment. Per usual, fastidious crop circle investigators in England have already flocked to the site to document the formation by way of the 2 different drone videos as well as the close-up photographs from inside the design. What may be most noteworthy about the scene is that the crops appear to be fairly high, making the shape of the formation noticeably crisp, which somewhat makes up for its lackluster design. As to whom or what may have created this formation, it is a safe bet to say that the debate over the cause of crop circle phenomenon will undoubtedly continue into 2019, as skeptics contend that the formation came courtesy of human hands. However, based on his examination of drone videos, researcher Dr. Horace R. Drew argued that there is no indication at present at any heavy mechanical or other man-made action in its formation. One thing that seems certain is that we'll be seeing many more formations in the weeks and months to come, now that crop circle season has begun. And our last article is a good old UFO sighting. This is from ET Database. It is written by Scott Waring, and the headline reads, UFO film moments before cloaking over Airdrie, Scotland. May 19th, 2019, UFO sighting news. Date of sighting, May 19th, 2019. Location of sighting, Airdrie, Scotland. This UFO seems to just disappear at 0.49 into the video. This should be impossible, yet there it is on video, and I see no flaws or indication of it being CGI. It looks 100% real. It's possible that this UFO was attempting to fly low over the houses in order to scan the residents to gain information on our way of life. One thing that blew my mind was when I heard the guy say, "No, it just disappeared." I got shivers. I swear it sounded like Street Cap 1, who also is from Scotland, but was reported to have died last year. This is an awesome video posted by reliable UFO expert, the Hidden Underbelly 2.0 of YouTube. Eyewitnesses states the object was first spotted by 4-year-old daughter of the family while having dinner with her family. As her father watched the object pass over their home, he realized that this was a UFO and began to video the cruising craft, and right before his very eyes, it disappeared. This is my opinion on the footage. And that I'm reading that. That's not my opinion on the footage, that's the author's opinion on the footage. I believe this object craft to be a classic flying saucer, and just before the craft vanished, we witnessed a bright light emitted from the center of the craft. I believe this to be the craft engaging its cloaking technology, because the UFO didn't fly out of view, it simply vanished. And of course, I'll link to this in the show notes, but at the very bottom of the article, he has the YouTube video linked. I've watched it, and it's a pretty good video. It looks really authentic, like there's no noticeable CGI. If it is, they did a pretty good job on it, but it's one of, I don't know, it's not a bad video. I've seen worse, I've seen better, but take a look for yourself and see what you think. And that will do it for the local headlines for this episode. But we're not done yet. We have listener stories still to come. And we're here for the last segment of the show, listener stories. And this week we have a doozy. We're just doing one, but it's a big one. I was contacted, it's probably about a month ago, by a man named Trevor out in West Mifflin, Pennsylvania. He sent me an email, and I tried to reply to him, and the email wouldn't go through. And he said he had this really incredible UFO abduction story, and I was like, oh, I gotta get this guy, and he wanted to talk about it. So I knew that he had found out about the show from Facebook. I was running a thing on Facebook to try to gather up listener experiences, so I'm like, okay, he has to be on Facebook. His email's not going through. His email was his first name, last name, and where he was. So it was like, I'll just search for a Trevor on Facebook, and I found him. And it really wasn't that hard. He was actually the first one that popped up. It was like, oh, that guy's got the same name. He lives in the same town. What are the odds that it's someone else? So I messaged him on Facebook, and he was like, yep, that's me. And we got to talking, and he wanted to come on Skype and be interviewed and tell his story. So that is what we did. And it is a harrowing story. It's an emotional story. It's an amazing story. And I just kind of let Trevor tell it. So that being said, like I said, I just let him go. I just let him tell his story. So these are his views on his account, what happened to him. This is his views on what he thinks these things are. These are his views on why he decided to come forward with his story after so many years. But I'm just gonna, we didn't really have a great intro to start out the thing. We just kind of started talking, so I'm gonna just fade into the interview. It's pretty long. It's about 40 minutes long, but worth every minute in my opinion. And I'll give you a little cue to know when it's almost over. When we start discussing or talking about Leonard Nimoy and his Hobbit album, that's pretty close to the interview. But here is my interview with Trevor about his abduction story.
Oh No problem. I still live in the same community, but I live in another town of Duquesne, but I lived nearby in a community of West Mifflin.
That's right. Right.
And it was of another community. It was like a mill community called Homeville. Now, Homeville is like a little separate community of West Mifflin. It's a borough community. It's living in Pennsylvania when you're a Commonwealth. Some towns that are not near the city runs a borough or a municipality. The town is very hardworking, very prideful. So, when people say I'm a liar, we're like a fighting type of town. We take our shit to heart.
Right.
And also being a former professional wrestler as well. I wasn't a professional wrestler then. I was about to train. So when I tell you this story, it's going to get insane and crazy.
All right.
And the whole story's insane. What happened is me and my friend Andrew, which I hope one day we could also interview him, his perspective. Because
that'd be interesting.
I have a better memory than him.
Mm-hmm.
I have a mild form of Asperger's. I have Asperger's, which is like usually Aspies remember everything.
Yeah.
So this is something I was able to hold in for years until friends I've started to reconnect, started blurting out memories out of alcoholism. Whenever you're drunk, people blurt out shit.
Right.
And then when they said certain memories, like my friend Colin, who's a very good friend of mine, got drunk and told me, Hoagie, which is his nickname, said, Hoagie told me he saved you from something. And then you saved him in the house. Which is going to be where we're going to get to the freaky part. But, and I didn't know Hoagie told a lot of my friends. I used to also, when I was a younger kid, I was a mall rat.
Gotcha.
We would hang out at the malls. We wouldn't commit any crimes, but we would just hang out, play the arcades. And now, sadly, the mall I used to hang out is dead. But, it's a small town, small city. Everybody knows everybody. But anywho, back to my story. What happened was this was before Facebook, before everything. This was 17 years ago. I get a call from Andrew saying, hey, bud, these two girls want to meet us with their father because we were gentlemen. We still are. I mean, we treat women with respect. They want to meet us at the Kennywood. I live actually still right near Kennywood. And I have another story after my story. This is going to also, I got to tell you after this one story. But
so what's that? What's Kennywood? Is it another town or is it like a?
No, Kennywood's an amusement park, which is right in Homeville. It's right near West Mifflin. It's the amusement park where everybody goes. So we were like, yeah, sure. So we walked up. We met them on the 4th of July. And everything was good, like we were like, yeah, when we were with their dad and their dad was a wrestling fan. So we were like, I was more thrilled with the fact that I was with their dad because he was like a dad to me. And then plus I was with their daughter. I was on a date with their daughter. So it was like, so being the gentleman like we are, we were like, well, you're with your dad. We're going to walk home because, we live closer. You live in Whitaker. Oh, all right, that's nice. So we're walking. Now, where Kennywood is, there's a shopping plaza. Okay, we were on top of the shopping plaza at Kennywood Shops. That's where we were, where we watched the fireworks, and that's where we were when we walked home. It was about 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock when they used to light the fireworks. And then we decided to go back to my house. So my house, my parents' house at the time is very close, and my parents are still with me. If you ever come to my town, I can show you every location to the T.
Okay.
Now, we were walking, and everything was fine. So we went back to my parents' house, and we were like, well, let's watch a movie. Guess what fucking movie we watched? Signs.
Oh. Okay, yeah, because it would have probably just came out, right?
Yeah, it was 17 years ago. It was a year after. 2000.
Okay, 2000, yeah. Yep.
And I was like, yeah, man, I had it on VHS. Let's watch it. And lo and behold, that's a type of movie that makes you say, hey, 17 years old, let's go for a walk.
Right.
And, West Mifflin is a community where everybody knows each other. And, we have a very strict police force. So if they saw us walking, they would be like, you're minding your own business. You're not doing anything, but just don't do anything stupid.
Right.
So we watched the movie and we're like, hey, let's go for a walk. Yeah. And then I could walk you home, because he lives near my mom's house. He's like, yeah, that's a good idea because I'm training to be a pro wrestler. I'm 17. I get to get exercise. It gets me out of the house.
Right.
So we're doing laps. Now, where my parents' house is a Commonwealth Avenue. Now, where Commonwealth Avenue is, it's a flat street, but it's also kind of hilly in a way. It's a flat, hilly street. That's a big, long street. My house alone, where I live at, where we're talking at, is in the next community of Duquesne, which is Commonwealth. It's the same damn street.
Yeah.
But anywho, near my parents' house, near Kennywood, there's a little shopping district that used to be a Rite Aid. No, it used to be an Eckerd back in the day. And now it's a Rite Aid, and there's a PNC there. And it's always been a PNC bank.
Mm-hmm.
We're walking. We were doing laps. Now, we were doing laps on the suspected street that I was almost abducted and he was almost abducted. And we kept doing laps. We were going down Roberta, and then at the bottom of Roberta, you can either go on Constitution. No. Yeah, you can either go on Constitution from Roberta, or you keep going on Roberta till you get at the bottom of Roberta, because Pittsburgh is nothing but hills, most of it. Even outskirts of Pittsburgh, it's all hills. I mean, it sucks.
Right. Yeah, I've been to Pennsylvania.
Yeah. So we decided, hey, I'm thirsty. When you go at the bottom of that hill, you're going to turn right at this hill, and that's going to take you where the police station is, right back where I said the Eckerd, what's a Rite Aid now is.
Right. Gotcha.
And the police station where I'm staying isn't there anymore. It's closed down. They moved it towards Lebanon Church Road. Due to the building was so old. It was built in the 60s. But anywho, we were doing laps, and we kept doing laps. Now, the weirdest thing in the world, I had an old Nokia Cricket phone. Now, if I remember clearly, it had to been midnight, maybe 1 o'clock in the morning. I don't remember, because if you recall, we both know that the movie Signs is like an hour and a half long, right?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
It's short as hell. I mean, there's just, but anyway, back to my story. We were walking. It's very quiet in my community, very quiet. We were going down the hill, walking down the hill on Roberta. We heard whistling sounds, like girls were attracted to us. That was the first weird thing. Now the whistles were coming all the way at the bottom of the hill, and we were at the top of the hill. Now, back then, even though I'm a big guy now, I could still get laid. But the fact of the point is 17 years old, we were like, yeah, flexing a little bit, like, yeah, walking down the hill.
Yeah.
But then the whistling stopped. All right, here's where shit gets fucking, pardon my language. Am I allowed to swear or no?
Yeah, you're fine. I'll just check the explicit box. We're all right.
Oh, Jesus.
Don't worry about it.
Here's where stuff gets really freaking out of control. We see something in the air when we start to walk down the hill in the beginning of Roberta. Now, Roberta is a street where there's a lot of homes. Now, it was going on either 12 or 1. I don't remember because it's been so long, but I'll remember everything else that I'm telling you now. After the whistling, we didn't pay it no mind. We were just fluxing, but we saw something in the air. Now, what was in the air was flashing multiple colors.
Okay.
I thought it was an airplane because West Mifflin, sir. West Mifflin is near 2 airports, if you know that. Did you know that?
I did not. So yeah, you probably see planes all the time. And you know what's a plane, what's not a plane.
You know, the president of the United States or any other politicians land in West Mifflin because of the, it's convenient and private, and it's so close to the city. It's 10 minutes away from the city of Pittsburgh.
Okay.
It's a private airfield. And then there's another airfield, which is also a nuclear base called Bettis Plant.
Huh.
Now, the Bettis plant it's a secret. Nobody knows. But anywho.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah, look up the Bettis plant. But this connects to my story because after this incident, more shit happened to me.
Okay.
I saw this thing in the air. It was flashing multiple colors, and we were like, it's a plane. It has to be a plane. We were like, let's just keep walking, Now, once you go down Roberta, you're walking down a hill. Halfway down a hill, there's a giant tree,
Right.
Across from the street of Constitution. I mean, it's a giant tree. It looks like something from a horror, like the episode of The Simpsons, the Treehouse of Horror.
Yeah.
And the weirdest thing was this object that we saw that was multiple colors in the air came closer and closer and closer, but the blinking stopped, and it was an oval-shaped object that was making trajectory moves, sir.
Okay. So you actually saw like its shape.
It's shaped. It
Not
was
just the
like
lights. You saw the physical.
the lights. I saw the shapes. It looked like the Kecksburg device.
So like an acorn, you would say.
Oval.
Oh, okay.
Oval Cornish in a way, and it was cylinder, and it was silver. But a light beamed down on me, sir.
Mm.
And the thing that scared me the most was my friend ran already up the hill because where Constitution meets Roberta, when you run up where Roberta meets Constitution, it's still a little bit of a hill. I'm standing where the Constitution sign is, where the fucking, pardon my language, is too creepy.
Mm-hmm. It's all right.
And this light's beaming down on me, and I keep saying, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life.
Wow.
This is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. And I've been through so much pain in my life, sir, being autistic, even with religion.
Okay.
But my friend, Andrew, he saw it. And he was hitting me, but I looked at him. I was like, but Hoagie. And he kept punching me and punching me. I was like, but. And I looked up. And, sir, I couldn't see what was in it, but it was light. I couldn't see what was in it, sir. I couldn't see. But it scared me.
Yeah.
I'm 6'4", sir.
Mm.
I am 6'4". Then I'm 6'4" now, but I had been 6'2". 6'2", 250 pounds. He had to pull me down by my pants and started punching me.
So you're saying that you were off the ground?
Yeah, I was starting to levitate, sir.
Wow. And he had the pole. Did he?
We ran. Now, this is where shit gets even worse. Now, I don't care anymore. And I don't care if I cry. Because,
take your time.
All right. Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, it's okay, Ron. What happened is back then, back in 2002, sir, you were able to leave your houses unlocked, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, this is where the creepy shit gets even more creepier. Me and Hoagie ran. We ran to my front door while my parents were asleep. Oh, Jesus Christ, they were asleep. And I unlocked the door and I grabbed my puppy, who was a pure dog Springer Spaniel. And I locked my back door because after I locked the front door, something was trying to break into the front door. Now, my parents' house is a mansion. When I grabbed my dog, it was like something was trying to break into my front door and back door and front door and back door while my parents were asleep and they didn't hear it.
I heard nothing, huh?
I mean, me and Andrew were screaming. And I remember I told Andrew when I grabbed my dog, Andrew's like, they can't hear us. I'm like, oh my God. Okay, I was like, here's what you're going to do. You're going to go upstairs with my puppy. And he said, what? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I've been through 17 years of hell and picking on. If it wants me so bad, it's going to have to face me. I grabbed the monkey wrench because my parents were getting shit done in the house. And I was waiting because it couldn't break in. And I was waiting in my hallway of my upstairs while Hoagie was terrified. Now, to make matters worse, this was 2002, sir.
Mm-hmm.
I tried messaging MUFON when MUFON existed. They've existed for ages.
They're still around.
I know.
Yeah.
And I never got help.
Nothing. They never came and took a report or did any of that, huh?
No.
Wow.
Now, here's something more creepier, sir.
Mm-hmm.
My grandma died. Now, I didn't tell anyone this, but my grandma passed away in 2003 or 2004. It was around that same time. Now, here's the creepy thing, and I'm comfortable saying that. My grandma, you know how some families are back in the day where they all lived close?
Right, yeah. My
grandma, and I'm so honest, I come from a cop family, mill family. We're a Heinz 57, but my grandma, God bless her soul, she's in heaven, whatever there is. But when she passed away after what happened to me in 2002, I started to drink.
Okay.
Heavy. And I started to do drugs. I mean, I think anybody that saw that, at 17 would start doing drugs heavy. But
I'm sure. It's a harrowing experience.
The drugs I did was weed and hallucinogenics. And I didn't really start doing that until I was in my 20s. But I stick to weed here and there when I was really, really fucked up. But I started alcohol young then. And I was sitting there at my grandma's porch when she passed away. and there was nobody there. West Mifflin really, if you're really known to the community as good, they don't give a shit what you do as long as you're not committing a crime. Right. I literally walked to my grandma's house with a 32 pack, and I got shit faced. And I'm sitting there on my grandma's porch, and I saw flying discs again, and I flying towards the Bettis plant. Either they were flying in the air or they were flying towards the Bettis plant. And I've heard horror stories of the Bettis plant.
How do you spell? Is it Bettis? Like, so I can look it up.
Bettis.
Oh, okay. Okay, gotcha.
A nuke. It was an airport, but it's a government contract nuclear facility as well. If you go anywhere near there, you're going to have a man in a Jeep with a fucking assault rifle pointed at you and fired at will.
Okay. So, wow.
So that has to
I've never heard of it. That's new to me.
That has to scream government if you have a man with an assault rifle in a Jeep.
Oh, yeah. Right. Yeah.
In the front, the barbed wire fences all over the perimeter.
Yeah.
But I thought that was odd. And another weird thing when I was about a teenager, I'd say 2004, 2005, I saw something in the air. And my parents has 2 bay windows in the front of their house. That we used to have a TV in in the front of the house. We used to have a TV.
Mm-hmm.
And I laid down, and I saw every time I would move, there'd be something in the air watching me.
Wow. Like do you think it was another craft, or is it
I don't know if it was a drone. It's bad enough that recently when, people in my own community has messed with me, and I had to take matters into my own hands, which is sad. I had to do like a knight would do, face it head on.
Mm-hmm.
I got drunk on St. Patty's Day, and I saw my friend's mother, and I asked her what really triggered this was I asked Mike, I've been at peace, and I've been letting go everything that happened to me in my life. And my therapist said, let go. And I did. And I asked her, what really triggered it was, hey, did your son ever tell you about a UFO possible abduction experience when we were 17 in 2002? And there was over almost 150, maybe 100 people, maybe, I don't really remember, but she whispered in my ear, yes, and I believe you.
Wow.
How does that fucking make a human being that you were raised in a Christian family make you feel? You were raised Catholic in a Catholic family. That totally crushes your sense of reality. You've held that in for so long. But yet,
right.
Me and him had an oath never to tell anybody. He's told someone. I've held it in for 17 years.
But now here you are.
Yeah, and people tried screwing with me in my own home with drones at night. For telling honest. And you could say what you want about President Trump, but what gave me the courage to do this was when he announced Space Force. And there is something out there. And I could tell you so many theories, it's not even funny. And I think a lot to do with it is with the Chinese. They're putting so much influence and money into the moon, into the Mars.
Mm-hmm.
Our natural resources is being depleted, and I'd say sooner our water resources will be diluted. This is like what Bill Nye says. This is some serious freaking, overhaul. So we're seeking either plant, help from possible life from other planets, or we know there's life from other planets. And the
Right.
sad thing is there's the evidence, and we know that there's the evidence, but our own government, I think the only two governments that's released the truth is Canada and Russia.
Yeah, I remember Canada did like a big info dump a few years ago, didn't they? Somebody did.
Like they're the most two countries. Like one of them we're friends with, the other one we hate. It's like there's the two countries. They're too honest with declassification of documents. We can't declassify anything worth a damn.
Yeah.
We really can't. And I think that's another thing. It's a shame. But everything I told you actually happened. It almost made me become a severe drug addict. But thank God it's only weed.
Right.
It made me isolate myself, not be able to sleep. I mean, I've even seen ghosts. That's the weirdest stuff too, dealing with the paranormal.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I think ghost is hard to get a handle on, like.
I might have, who knows? I mean, I could tell you one story that happened in my house when my dad was sleeping. It could have been an alien that was camouflage. But I remember that very well. I saw a shadow figure multiple times walking in my house. It was like you couldn't even see their face. And isn't it hilarious? We have that technology now.
Yeah, I know. I remember something a while back about how
it's
tanks
not a while.
had.
It's now. We have total visual 3 CGI camouflage. It looks like something. You know what movie explained it the most? Do you remember Harry Potter?
Yeah, which one?
The first one. The one where he gets
the cloak? Yeah.
Yeah, that. We have that now.
Yeah, I bet. I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt what we got.
You're gonna have one ring to fucking, pardon my language, I'm sorry, my humor and my language. You're gonna be like, some interview, man. This was a podcast. Beep, 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 beep.
Nah, don't worry about it. We can take it. We got it. We got it.
It's gonna be like, what's next? We're gonna have one ring to rule them all. It's like this is really happening, but
yeah,
it's scary. I saw that, and that story, if you want to hear that story, that happened around the same time I had the UFO problem.
Yeah, go ahead if you want to.
I was talking to one of my ex-girlfriends. Her name was Christina.
Okay.
She is now divorced with, I think, 2 kids or 1, but we were kids then. Good girl. God bless her. But I was talking to her on the phone, and I had a door that me and my brother had a fist fight ages ago, like a few years ago back then, that me and my brother tackled each other through it,
Yeah.
And another funny story. I put Christmas. This was so messed up. It was Christmas, right? So my mom had, like some families, they like, I bet your mom does this. Like, I'm saving the Christmas wrapping paper, save it.
No, my mom's never been that, but I know people that are.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So my mom is all my mom, cheapest woman in the world. Like, she'll save the last bit of ketchup, I swear to God. The story was, I was talking to her, and I used to have a Christmas wrapping paper of God, of Jesus Christ, on my door until we also tackled each other through that. That's why I was kind of chuckling. That's like, yay, God tackles through the door.
All right.
But what happened was I had a sheet that was silk. You know what I mean? It was kind of like blackish, but satin silk. You could see through. And my dog, who was a puppy, and this is also, I forgot to add about the UFO thing to add, but this also will be added to the story. The dog was trying to bite at this thing's leg, and it wasn't able to bite at it.
So, like, did it pass through it, or was it just like...
Yeah, it was just trying to bite at it, and it wasn't able to, and it was walking up my steps, and I was hearing the steps. And then I was almost, my whole house was cold as ice. I had my arms up, my hairs were up. I mean, this thing was taller than me. You know what I mean? I couldn't see its eyes, and it literally walked through my door without any problem.
Like the door wasn't even there.
Like the door wasn't even there. Literally just flustered through it, like one leg, the other leg, hello. And then I was so scared that my heart stopped. And it kept coming closer and closer and closer to the point where she kept screaming on the phone, like, what are you doing? Like, kept screaming. I flipped the light on, and it went away.
So, like, it disappeared, or?
Don't know.
Just not there, light, nothing.
Yeah.
Gone, huh? Wow.
God. I mean, I even seen one time the same shadow going into my brother's room, but my brother moved out.
Okay, I got you. So, like, it's like, oh, that's just my brother, and then you're probably like, wait a minute, he's not here anymore.
Yeah, but there was there was another incident that happened even after that. Like, my brother was moved out. Like, and my dad, you know what the creepy thing about that? The second time that happened, my dad was sleeping in the other room. He didn't even hear it.
Wow.
And like the way we have our house upstairs, it's like there's the bathroom, then there was my room, then there was the towel closet, then there was my parents' room, and then there was my brother's room.
Okay.
Like, and it was just weird. I mean, that made me just say to myself, okay, I am not crazy. I'm not going to tell my shrink this shit, and I'm just going to continue smoking weed. And like, to make matters worse, after when we were kids, my friend Andrew did have epilepsy. Okay. He's a confirmed epilepsy. But I think it's even more weird that after that incident, my puppy had to be put down because of epilepsy.
Man. Because of epilepsy, wow.
Now, here's the thing. I tried fighting, because my dog, the puppy at the time, after that UFO thing happened, he was just a puppy. Mm-hmm. I had to put him down like 2 or 3 years later.
Okay. Yeah, pretty early. Yeah.
And I tried thinking maybe the breeder inbreeded him. No, that was straight up. Maybe he was scared what he saw. Because when I took my dog upstairs, he left my hands. Maybe he saw something at the front door. Don't know. Don't even know. But also, I get flashbacks very good. I remember stuff. And flashbacks suck.
Oh, I bet.
You yourself are the ones that remember it if you're at a certain location or a certain place. And you can remember it like it's a goddamn video game, but no one else can see it, but in your mind, but you.
Gotcha.
Like, I'll use an example. Okay. Have you ever seen Kingdom of Heaven?
No. I've heard of it. I don't think I've ever seen it, though.
Watch the entire cut of the movie. There's a scene where this knight's standing there in France, and he's just standing there. And you see him. And he's old and frail, but he's looking at a garden, but it's wintertime, right?
Okay.
But when he's looking at it, he's seeing it's summertime, and he's young, and he's with his whatever the woman she was to him, and they're making love where he's seeing.
Okay, I see what you're saying. I get you.
He can visually see where that location was.
Right.
He can feel everything. But, man, I don't know, man. If you have anything else you need to ask me, ask.
I don't know. If there's anything else you want to add, anything. Well, you said something about March. Have you had anything recently? Like, do you still see things in the sky? Or
no, actually, not hostile, but sometimes I do. But it's weird. Personally, if you want my opinion, I don't think they're hostile.
Right.
Do you remember the incident that happened on BBC television network back in 1978?
No, I don't think so.
Well,
Like it was on a broadcast?
Yeah.
It was caught on tape? No.
Well, it wasn't caught on tape. This is going to blow your mind. While the BBC was airing their news, right, on their television, right?
Mm-hmm.
Something of another origin, and you can listen to the original broadcast on YouTube, took over the frequency all over the BBC in Europe, and it was a message.
Wow, I've never.
And it was a creepy message of like you got to give away your guns, you got to stop killing one another and do good, or the planet's going to go to shit.
Right. Huh.
And
I'll have to look into that one.
And it was kind of weird because a lot of musical artists started doing UFO songs. Like, have you ever heard of the Carpenters?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Calling occupants of interplanetary craft.
Right. Huh.
Elevator music.
There you go.
But I really think that they're trying to communicate to us to be like, dude, we're not bad people.
Yeah.
I also believe have you ever heard of the story, which is not a story, it's just people make this man out to be a joke. Lieutenant Colonel Philip Corso?
Yeah, I've heard, yeah.
I believe that man.
Yeah.
And you know what's sad? I believe his son, who still does speeches, why would his son lie?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, right, what's he got? Yeah.
I mean, I'm very intelligent. Like, you know what? That man served his country for so long. And then he, and when I heard the man said, I took an oath, I waited for it till my commanding officers all were dead so they wouldn't have shame. Well, they're all dead, and that's what he did. Oh, right. They're all dead. I could start talking.
Yep. Exactly.
And I would have done the same thing. No,
I mean, you hear that a lot, especially, with a lot of these people getting older and, they had this experience back who knows when, and now they're the last ones left, and they're like, well, now I'm going to spill the beans, hear about it a lot.
This happened to me. I got to live with this for the rest of my life. And then to make matters worse, I got to live with autism. So people are going to call me a retard, which I don't like that word, but
no, I don't either.
You got to live with a stigmata. And then you got to live with being a giant. I literally look like a giant with tattoos because society has hurt you so much that you want to express it in art.
Right.
Like, please let me be in peace.
I know.
But I can't even have that. I can't even train wrestling without someone giving me grief. I can't even have a relationship without someone trying to fuck a relationship. Oh, pardon my language. Mess up a relationship. It's like society, even when you're honest, wants to kill you. It's very scary. And we're living in a backward society where the more intelligent you are, the more they want you, or the more dumb you are, the more you're given things.
Yeah.
And I just hope our world gets better. Intellectually, educationally, pardon my language, physiologically.
Physical logic. I can't do it either.
Yeah. Like
I had it, and then I tried to say it, and it didn't work.
Even on a society level, culturally where we can all get along. Try to have a common line and just stop the freaking name calling and just live and be honest. Like, I just bought the Spock album. What, Bilbo Baggins?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yo, on vinyl, dude, Spock's a pimp.
So it's like an entire album. I've only heard like the one. I've seen the video.
Bro, listen to the album. Listen to the album. That album will make you feel like, dude, Spock, fuck William. Oh, so sorry. Screw William Shatner. It's like Leonard Nimoy got it going on, dude. That 6'4" dude didn't even need the ears. He got it going. He got all that booty. He'll be in a suit. I don't need drugs. I have love.
There you go.
Like that's what he would do. He would start singing a song, and then next track, life will bring you down sometimes, but do not let it do that. Like,
awesome. And that was Trevor's story. We probably talked for another 20, 25 minutes. We got into some crazy discussions about chupacabras and how they might be linked to, ancient Egyptian guardians and just all sorts of fun stuff after the end of that. Some ancient American kind of civilization stuff, all sorts of stuff. It was a really fun conversation. It was a really fun interview. I also just like to point out, I know it sounded a little echoey and a little weird. I ended up recording that at a friend's house, and I didn't have like all the gear, but it worked out. We got it. And it sounds like a normal Skype interview because that's the way Skype sounds. But I just want to thank Trevor for coming on the show and doing that and having the courage to come on and share that story that he's been holding in for so long. And that's what Listener Stories is all about, is getting it out there, and hopefully maybe someone down the line will hear it and go, hey, I had that experience too. You're not alone. Like, I just want Trevor to know that, like, there are other people that have experienced those same things. He's not the only one. He is not alone in it. And I can't believe how much it probably took for him to get on there and do it. And I can't thank him enough for doing it. If you have a listener experience and you want to share it, maybe you've got a local legend, a local haunted house, you've had a UFO sighting, you've had a Bigfoot sighting, you've had something that you want to share on the show, then you can do it. The easiest way to do it is either go to stscast.com, scroll down the bottom of the first page, there's an email form there. You can write it in, I'll read it on the show. You can send me in an MP3 recording, I can just plop it in the show, less work for me to do. Or if you want to set up a Skype interview like we did with Trevor, I'm all about that too. That's the easiest way, but you can also get on Twitter or any social media, really. I'm most active on Twitter, and get a hold of me that way if you would like to share your experience and have it played on the show. And that is our latest edition of Listener Stories. And that will be a wrap for episode 6, season 1 of Small Town Secrets. One more time, thanks everyone for listening. Thanks for supporting the show. You can find out all sorts of good things at the website at stscast.com. Like I said, there's show notes there. There's links to the sources there. There are photos there. There are ways to share your listener stories. There is ways to support the show, like merch. I've got some t-shirts on there. I've got some hats. I made a coffee mug for myself last week. I was like, I'm going to make myself a coffee mug and order it. And I decided the coffee mug was good enough to keep on the store. So it's on there now. It's available for anyone that would like a coffee mug. That's a thing that you can have. You can own a coffee mug. But just thanks everyone once again. And, follow the show on social media. It's at STScast, both on Facebook and Twitter. It's on the old Instagrammy at stscast.gram. And there are other ways that you can support the show for free. You can give it a rate and review on your podcatcher of choice, especially iTunes. You can just tell a friend. That is a big thing that is a powerful thing. Or share it on social media. Engage with me on social media. But that's the show. That is a wrap. We'll be back next week with some more crazy stories. I think I know what I'm doing, but I'm not going to reveal it just yet. So until next time, remember, every town has a secret. What is yours?